Warning, don't listen if it's a podcast you want. This is a Chumcast. Just your basic gabfest among chums. A little news, some entertainment, an annoying opinion or two, and, if you're lucky, maybe even a chuckle.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
So it's time to buckle up. Whetstone Entertainment, in association with Is Chill Productions, presents Don't Listen, a basic Chumcast. And here are your hosts, Big Red and the Shebs.
Remember, everyone, just don't be yourselves.
It's showtime.
All right, it's go time.
Fire it up, Big Red. Let's get it going.
So are the emergency exits located in the same spot?
Same spots.
Good.
Yep.
Is the eject button in the same spot?
No, they moved it. They moved it by on your other side of the chair there.
Okay, well, now's the time to exit stage left, exit stage right, look for the emergency exits, or
hit the eject button.
That's right. It's the Don't Listen Chumcast. I'm Big Red. He's the Shebs. And quite the episode coming up today.
You're excited about this one. You came in all fired up today.
Bill Graham was my boy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Growing up in San Francisco Bay Area.
Everything was Bill Graham Presents.
He was like the music god.
You go out to dinner and it's a Bill Graham Presents steaks.
He presented everything when we were kids growing up. And,
everything.
I think we were just talking about this before we opened up the mics. You take these things for granted, but growing up in the Bay Area, man, we had the best music scene in the world because of Bill Graham.
I know, and we'll get into this, but also this also has some East Coast knowledge back there because he was really a West Coast guy, but went east as well.
That's true. You got some people. So we're in the Pudley studios today.
Pudley's.
Yeah, I just, for some reason, over the course of the last month or so, I haven't been able to get that Gold Mine special out of my mind. That cold, big 24-ounce beer and that big, greasy, insanely too huge, juicy, tremendous hamburger with the big steak fries. And I think it was for like less than $10, or we're coming in right at $10.
Pudley's, what was it? A nice burger joint right on the peninsula. I always think of our friends back in Virginia, right? So Pudley's studio, everybody across the country has different old cool hangouts, nice places to go.
Oh yeah, they're like your neighborhood Cheers.
Your neighborhood Cheers, and certainly Pudley's was not only a great name for a place, but delicious food.
Delicious food, and it was affordable. It was cheap. It was laid back. They would have the video games for the kids, family friendly. I remember they had the first location that I remember was over in Belmont, and it was like you walked into like an old saloon from the old
That's
West.
What it looked like, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And that one shut down for whatever reason, whatever. There was never anybody in there. And they did serve me when,
You always got served.
I did. I think it's because I was tall.
Whether you're going down to the Carlos Club or whatever, you're just always getting served.
Yeah. Yeah. I was blessed that way. And that was some tasty. That was everything there was tasty. So they moved to the El Camino, and then that place in San Carlos, and then that place ended up shutting down, and it's kind of left a big void.
Yeah.
I mean, Pudley's was kind of like a little go-to. Like you could go there for lunch on a Friday. You could go there anytime, right? And everybody was always there. Yep. It was another one of those places where you could run into all your old friends, and you didn't have to get the Gold Mine special, but that was the deal.
There you go.
Pudley's.
The Pudley's studio. Okay. Going back in time. And thank you, Go Car Tours of San Francisco, for allowing us to name the studio after a 80s memory. So thank you, Go Car.
80s and 90s. Pudley's made it for a pretty long time.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. It's,
And I also want to remember Tom Chapman.
Tom Chapman.
A very good friend of mine. I mean, we were in, we grew up together. This is a buddy of mine, of ours, that passed away just recently, possibly within the last year or two.
No, I think it's a little longer than that.
Surprisingly, it was a surprise. I mean, I had lost touch with him over the years, but maybe, possibly, and I've known him since I had known him since kindergarten. We were St.
Oh,
Carlos.
that long?
Oh yeah, we were in Boy Scouts together, and all kinds of trouble. But he may have been the funniest individual growing up.
I think so. I met him through the McBride clan, so I only got to know him in high school, and same impression, same memory. Funny, just always up. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's it's sad to see a guy pass away at before his time, but you never know. Every day's a blessing, right?
Yeah.
You never know. But I just wanted our listeners to know today that we're thinking about Tom Chapman. There's a lot of our listeners out there that probably remember Tom, and Tom made them laugh, right? And the older we get, it seems like to me, the more valuable people are that can make you laugh.
Yeah, and for everybody else out there, it's a nod to all the good friends that we lost too early.
That's right. And I think that Tom Chapman would be at Pudley's right now, enjoying a Gold Mine special with us as viewers. So cheers.
He would. And the people who are missing out on Pudley's is the Is Chill team, which joins us as always here in the booth.
Yeah, but there's not very many.
There's not very many. And also Michael and Doug are not here Michael and Doug, of course, are our leadership from Whetstone Entertainment. They are not here.
Are they? Did we cut them loose?
I don't know where they are.
I think we
Doug's
should
probably went back to Ohio or something like this.
Those guys don't work anyway.
Michael's goofing off somewhere.
Yeah, they don't work.
But saying hi to Evan, Daniel, Marcio, Eric, and of course Rachel there. They're manning the show. Thank you guys. Nice to see you.
Excellent.
And we're off and running.
Yeah. So coming up on the show, again, we're going to talk a little bit about on the big show. We're going to, the most important thing is Holla, which is becoming the most entertaining segment of the show.
I think people are just saying stuff just to say stuff and sending it to us. I don't think people are even, I think a lot of this stuff is just like fake. People aren't listening to people who don't even listen are just saying, I'm going to send them some stuff.
Yeah, no, they're going to heckle us. It's about heckling.
They're trolling.
Right? The big one that we seem to get like 4 times a day is that Big Red gets more ass than a toilet seat. And it's like a different name every time.
I'm just saying that nut from Gilroy, Stacy, who was writing all those long ones, totally went silent.
Yeah.
Because you offended her, I think.
I think I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that to everybody.
You can't offend fans, even the ones that are nuts. You can't do that.
It's a gift. It's not like I do it on purpose.
Okay, there you go.
We do have a power poll coming up a little bit later too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's been a while since we did the WTF power poll, but we've got one of those coming up a little bit later. Also, One Bad Mother. We've talked about this. It's going to feature the greatest music promoter probably of all time, Bill Graham.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about what happened on this day in history.
On this day in history!
And that's right now. What happened on this day in history is being brought to you by our friends at GCE Electrical.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And let's see.
I think that's our first electrician type.
On this day in history, back in 1977, the first Chuck E. Cheese restaurant opened where? Where do you think it opened?
In Knowingville, California? I don't know.
Okay, you're right that it's in California. I'll give you a hint. It's in Northern California.
Chuck E. Cheese in Northern California?
Yeah, Northern California.
Sacramento.
San Jose.
Oh, okay.
1977. The original name was to be Rick Rat. Rick Rat.
Name something rat that's a food joint?
The E stands for entertainment. Charles Entertainment Cheese. This is going to get you right here, too. Nolan Bushnell, the co-founder of Atari and Pong, is the originator of the Chuck E. Cheese, right? Chuck E. Cheese was actually called, it wasn't called Chuck E. Cheese. It was called Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time
Theater.
That was it. Even though the cool guys like me and you said, let's go to Chuck E. Cheese.
I never said let's go to Chuck E. Cheese until I had kids.
Really?
No, I never went there. Are
Wow,
you kidding me?
missed out. I just wish I was smoking pot back in those days, because those like animals were like doing the dance, and they were moving their heads, and they were walking around everywhere, and you had
Oh.
video games everywhere.
I mean,
that was a pot smoker's haven.
I mean, talk about arcade. I mean,
And
it had
pizza.
arcades. It had arcades, but the pizza's fine. I mean, it's just, but you know,
When
you had to
you're-
go to Castle Golf and Games before I go into Chuck E. Cheese.
You got to shake it up every once in a while.
I just remember with the kids, taking the kids there would be these kind of also live shows where the workers would stand up with a mic and stuff, and they couldn't get anybody's attention, so they kept going yoo-hoo. They kept yelling, trying to get people's attention. It's like, oh,
Oh, and this is all from a guy who didn't go there until you had kids.
Yeah.
That was when it went downhill. 77 was when it opened up. So, you know,
all fired up
in
then.
80, 81, when you're 12, 13, 11, 12, 13 years
That
old.
stuff was fantastic back then. I know, but I didn't. No, I didn't go there.
Yeah, you were watching network
I was too
TV.
scared. I was
Watching
too scared. Like you
network
said before in a
TV.
previous episode, I was a fawn.
Let's see what else. What other interesting little facts? Okay, so the guy who put together Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater was the founder of Atari and Pong, and he was actually Steve Jobs' mentor, Nolan Bushnell.
Okay. Thank you, Nolan, from Parents Everywhere.
And you wouldn't remember this, but they used to have these animatronics, like they were like
With my kids, I know.
they were like robots and stuff.
Yeah, the Chuck E. Cheese, little
Right, and they would do those skits, and they would sing, and they would do all that, and then they would just go back into the hut and
Yeah.
shut down, right? But those they were programmed, and for 1 hour of that programming with those different characters, it would take like for 1 minute of those little skits that they did and stuff. It took 3 hours to program that.
Huh?
So they put more effort into that than I think they did the pizza.
I can't wait to use that knowledge, at a party one day. It's great.
Hey, if you can find any natives to San Mateo County or from this area that are our age, that are still, because we're like the last of the Mohicans.
We are last of Mohicans.
But
yeah.
if you can find them, I can guarantee you they would be like, wow, man, Chuck E. Cheese was awesome.
No, I don't think anybody's going to say it was awesome.
And that's what happened on this day in history, and it was brought to you by our friends at GCE Electrical.
Time to unplug and run.
Watch out! Better take cover! Everything's illegal and lethal with these two butthurt OGs. Don't listen!
People, are you ready? Are you ready?
A whole lot of nothing burger right here. Don't listen.
Welcome back. It's the Don't Listen Chumcast. I'm Big Red. He's the Shebs. We got a great show coming up, believe it or not. It might be the first great show that we've ever had.
No.
Experience will make you great.
Yeah, I know, but I think there's a couple season 1 eps that I thought were really good.
Well, let's see where this one takes us.
Okay, but you're again, you came in all fired up, so there you go.
Yeah, because we got the Holla segment coming up a little bit later.
You're loving the comments today.
Well, we could change it to Big Red gets more ass than a toilet seat,
yeah,
because that is kind of the thing going on there.
yeah, not surprising.
We got a power poll that's coming up a little bit later. That's the WTF power poll. And that's being brought to you by one of our sponsors from, we don't even know where these people are from, the Super Shoe Outlet. Super Shoe Outlet. I thought everybody bought their shoes on Amazon now, but this is the Super Shoe Outlet.
Shoe Outlet.
And we got One Bad Mother, which is going to be Bill Graham. But right, I can see they've got us all set up here. So you're going to choose, this is the Booyah and the Boom Shakalaka.
Oh yeah, the booyah and the boom shakalaka.
And the Booyah and the Boom Shakalaka is being brought to you today by the Car Battery Center.
And you're letting me choose today?
Of course.
All right.
I'm tired of the choosing thing. I think we should just eventually just say, whatever.
No, I think it's kind of a. I mean, we have notes for at some level all the topics, but we don't know what we picked today.
Well,
but
today we have three. Today we have 3 scripts. There's 3 in there.
Why is it okay?
Go ahead, pick one of them.
All right. And the winner is Snoring and Marriages.
Oh, good.
Who thought of that?
Good. I think I had something to do with it.
I think we just lost the last 5 listeners now that we've had listening to.
I think everybody's a
Snoring and Marriages?
Dude, it's not marriages. I'm not married, and I've been with a couple of snorers. I've been with a couple of sleepwalkers. I think that I induce this behavior. I've been with people who slobber on themselves. I'm telling you, talking to themselves, walking. But the worst of the worst is the snoring.
Okay.
The worst of the worst. And I'll be honest with everybody here. I've actually woken myself up before with a quick. You've ever done that before and gone,
No.
That was usually after a keg of beer, after inhaling a keg of beer.
Probably.
That was after a troubled evening. But this is actually, I think everybody is affected. I mean, sleep is a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
So, if you pick a partner, back in the old days, they used to be virgins until they got married. So
you didn't know if they snored or not.
Yeah.
And they didn't know if you snored or not.
Then you marry somebody and they're like rattling the windows like in another neighborhood.
And you don't know if you snore or not until you get married, right? Until you're sleeping with somebody. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that,
provides a large sample size.
If you lose enough sleep to a partner that is snoring every night, you're going to consider divorce.
I know.
You're going to get tired of moving down to the couch, bro.
No, no.
You don't think so? Okay, you're just going to deal with it. So you must be the snorer in your relationship.
Oh, I wouldn't say.
You must be the one who's snoring because it doesn't sound like you've ever been affected by a serial snorer.
I don't know. I mean, just saying. I just don't. Come on. You gotta break up over snoring, really?
Well, I say that
you gotta like a person at least at some level. What are you gonna do the rest of the day?
It's not a personal thing. I'm just gonna throw out there some things that we found out in the research. So, I just have to ask the question: is there anything worse than picking a partner who is perfect in every single way imaginable? Perfect body, perfect personality, funny, awesome, smells tremendous, wears perfect perfume. She's so awesome. She's 100% insanity. And then she snores.
Dramatic pause. No, I mean, okay. So there's a flaw.
Well, it's a pretty big one. They have no idea with me, these snorers have no idea who my evil side is. They're not even in touch with until I have not slept for a week with a snorer.
Okay, so
that brings out a whole different booyah with me.
I am grouchy if I don't sleep. I'll give you that. Sleep is my gig. I need, give me my hours.
Sleep is your gig?
Yeah.
You're going to hang your hat on sleep? I do too, but I'm not going to hang my hat on it.
Ever since 7th grade, man, I love to sleep. That's my thing. And in college, for finals where everybody's like staying up all night, it's like, no, I study till 9 o'clock. I go to bed and wake up at 2.
I told you to watch that movie, The Adderall Diaries, with James Franco.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
Everybody's on Addies.
No.
They call it the Addies.
Just saying.
Better than cocaine.
Gotta have my sleep.
All right. So let's all write that down. We want to make sure that the Shebs gets his sleep, because if he were to have landed with a snorer, he would probably be on death row right now, is my guess. Right? You got to have your sleep, right?
Got to have my sleep.
Okay, it's important. That's all I'm trying to, that's the groundwork that I'm trying to put in. The context is that sleep is very important. So if you can't sleep with your partner, what are your options? Let's go through the options. So you just don't focus on this huge freight train that's driving through your brain every night when you try to go to sleep. So you just don't focus on it. You say, I can deal with this. Like you, I think this is what you would probably do. Oh, I can deal with this. I'm okay. Oh, I'll be all right. Right?
I mean, you're gonna go in a different room. I don't know.
Have you ever, what about earplugs? Have you ever tried to wear earplugs before?
I have before.
I would think that would be terribly uncomfortable.
It's not bad.
Well, when I sleep,
Because I had a room once by high traffic areas and stuff.
it
helps.
helps. It seems like you're compromising for the snorer, right? Like you're going to say, okay, I don't want to hear the crickets outside, or I don't want to hear the birds chirping in the morning because I have these earplugs in because I picked a lousy, snoring, mother effing freaking.
So does like Match.com
Snore.
have like that selection criteria? Must not snore.
Now you're talking. That would be on my agenda.
Okay.
That would be part of my list because there's something that brings out the evil in me with snores.
Okay.
And I'm not like snore free. Like I said, I drink a keg of beer and I'll wake myself up every once in a while. I'm not perfect, but it's a problem. It can be a problem in a relationship. So wearing earplugs is a possible solution. You can listen to music or some sort of white noise. You can kick them, which I can't kick a woman.
You tap them. You can tap them.
Figure out a way.
You can tap them. They roll over, and usually it stops, just depending on how the severity of it.
Okay, so my strategy with that one, instead of kicking, is to change their position.
Oh, I would think you'd be a long toenail guy and just dig it into their high ankle.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That is. Oh, I get in trouble for having long toenails.
Yeah, just picture you a long toenail guy.
I get in trouble.
You and your San Francisco liberalism with your Birkenstocks and just get those long toenails, a little bit of dirt underneath them. Yeah, there you go, Big Red.
Yeah, I think that might be a good one. But one of the strategies that I will employ will be if they're just ripping it up, I will get right up close and act like I'm going to snuggle, and I'll get right up in their ear and I'll go. And some of them don't care, and some of them just jump up like they're scared to death. But if there's any more crickets out there listening, give it a shot.
Okay, there you go. Good strategy.
I mean, it's better. It's better than kicking because you're probably going to get kicked back, and it's better than trying to move them with your elbow or move them around because they're probably going to swing back, and they're going to be like unconscious. They're going to be asleep, so you could get hurt doing that.
Doug from Whetstone always said that if he got woken up in the middle of the night, he's a swinger. He gets startled and just starts.
There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, it came from his brother who was diabetic and would sneak in and try to stick needles into his stomach in the middle of the night.
You could always take him to a medical. You could always take him to a medical professional. Or you can
CPAP machines, put them on that. Put them on those mouth guards, maybe.
Or you could sleep in another room.
Sleep in the other room,
right? But that kind of avoid. That's kind of like
nothing's more sexier than a CPAP machine on somebody's face.
Yeah, or going to the other room. You marry a partner, so you can marry with. You can sleep with that person, right? I mean, that's part of the deal. I mean, that's what you enjoy, what you should enjoy. So having to go to another, I think there's some stress that goes into a relationship if you have to go into there's going to be some animosity.
I get it. And the other partner, they might feel bad that you're having to step out. I get it.
It's a thing. So here's some quick stats, just some quick hitters. 18% confess of snores. This is snores. 18% confess to snoring causing heated, regular arguments. These are couples.
Really? Okay.
This is couples where they have snoring going on in the bedroom. 18%. Again, because I screwed that up. 18% confess to snoring causing heated, regular arguments. 30% sleep in another room.
That's my strategy, right?
Yeah, they don't want to deal with it, right? They don't want to deal with it. No one wants to argue. No one wants to get all tangled up in some kind of big fight because you're going to be a little irritated. You haven't slept for 5 days.
You just go in the same bed, have some sexy time, and then go to the other room. Get your 8 hours.
26% say that that's just ooh. I listened to this one. Like I couldn't hardly read what was being gibbered here, but 26% say divorce is justified, and that is 1 out of 6. Snoring is grounds for divorce. Everybody gets divorced now, dude. Everybody gets divorced, dude. If you're like, got stinky breath or whatever, everyone's getting divorced. Right. And if you're
Okay.
everyone's getting divorced. The 1 out of 6, and I think I'm with the 1 out of 6. I think
Okay.
that snoring is ridiculous.
Okay. All right.
And here's the big one. 64% of all of these people polled said that snoring is an absolute deal breaker. So
64%.
I'll bring this into the real world. I'm dating somebody and we get to the magical moment and we do the nasty. And after the nasty, that's the best time to sleep. Yeah, you get that sleep going and then choo choo, here it comes. The freight train is coming through. I'm out.
That's it.
There's some factors that will play into that.
I get it.
As to how patient I would be. Like I would play that a little bit. Like I would be like, if I was really into the girl, I would be like, hey, can we
try a mouth guard?
I don't know how you even really bring that up, to be honest with you. I don't even know. I mean, how did I bring that up last time? Last time I brought that up, I was like, hey, I was pissed off. It was in the morning and I was pissed off and I was like, hey, you
were angry. You didn't get your sleep.
Yeah, for like 3 days. And I was like, hey, you snore like a freight train. And she's, that's not nice. Yeah, did anybody ever tell you that? Yeah, they told me that. Do you ever do anything about it? Nope. Well, maybe that's why you're single.
There are health risks if you snore. People need to have awareness. If they snore, that could lead to other issues down the line.
Like what? Like what?
Oh, it could be a sign of heart disease, right? Because the
No
sleep
way.
apnea,
No
right?
way.
Lack of oxygen to the brain. Absolutely. You got to be careful with that snoring stuff. Just saying.
I don't see. Well, that would be grounds for divorce then, right? If your snoring led to heart failure or led to whatever else you're talking about, it could lead to. Let's see. Did you look at the?
No, I didn't look at anything. Remember, I got stupid knowledge. I might mix up Tales of Gold Monkey with Brass Monkey, but I got stupid knowledge.
I think I read somewhere that in this research that it does lead to diabetes.
No, it's not diabetes. It's
Diabetes.
other. No. Could be
Well,
other stuff.
High blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, anxiety,
Thank you. Yeah.
and mental exhaustion.
Yeah.
Which is grounds for divorce.
There you go.
Divorce sleeping is staying married but sleeping in separate beds.
There you go.
Divorce sleeping.
Divorce.
I'm telling you, divorce
All
is
right.
so easy.
Okay. That's fine.
You put in your time, right? And then you go, okay, I've had it with you, you snoring slob. I'm done. Let's go our separate ways. Or we can you're going your separate ways anyway.
You know, Catholics get annulments over that stuff too.
Oh, I'm gonna look into Catholicism.
Yeah, just saying. So there you go.
Okay, they can chime in on the power poll.
Yeah. Is that the power poll coming
Yeah,
up?
so we're gonna post the WTF power poll, and the question will be.
Yeah.
What is the question going to be? Oh yeah,
would you get divorced for snoring?
Yeah.
Kind of something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Daniel, who's doing it? Marcia's doing it. No, Daniel's doing it today.
I don't know.
He's posting it.
He just gave me the card, so it's on the power poll.
Daniel's going to do it today. So.
And that was the Booyah and the Boom Shakalaka, and it was brought to you by our friends at the Car Battery Center.
Don't listen. The original head scratcher.
You smell that? That's the fresh stench of failure. Don't listen.
Three, two, one, jump!
The hot mess of a dumpster fire will continue.
Okay, eject time. It is emergency exits on the left and on your right. Time to get the hell out. It's the Don't Listen Chumcast. I'm Big Red. He's the Shebs. We're almost out of here. We're gonna take a look at the emails.
We're getting close. We're getting close. And by the way, during the break, you know, I did just realize, and Daniel brought it up, that all those guys in there and Rachel, they're in that younger crowd. They love Chuck E. Cheese. That was their birthday party scene.
Oh,
growing up.
I never got a birthday
guys?
party.
See, they're all thumbs up.
I never got a birthday party there.
No, but they did, because they're the Gen Z or whatever that is.
Oh yeah.
So they had all the birthday parties there. So,
Hey, are you handling the emails? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, they got it handled. They got that handled and the power pole. We'll see how that goes.
We're all ready to go. But they had the fishbowl for the Booyah right here, right on cue.
Yeah, are we going to put?
They're getting good.
Are we putting the power pole on?
Yeah,
on Facebook.
No, it's on our website.
It's on the website.
Yep.
Okay, so that's don'tlistenchumcast.com. The WTF power poll. Go ahead and participate, and we'll have a good time with that. But the emails are coming up. That's our Hall segment.
Yep.
Right now, I want to get into One Bad Mother.
That's one bad mother.
One Bad Mother is being brought to you by Newport Land Design. And today, our subject is Bill Graham.
If you grew up in the 80s, everything was brought to you by Bill Graham Presents.
In the Bay Area.
Yeah, I mean, that's where he started. But he did venture back east. But yeah, but in the Bay Area, it was him. It was really him.
Yeah, I think we need to understand that growing up in the Bay Area, especially in our sweet spot during the 70s and the 80s, was a gift from the music gods.
Oh, yes.
And their chosen prophet was Bill Graham.
Yes.
And so some of the things that I don't think people will know about Bill Graham was that almost every facility, every music hall, every big one, Winterland, the Fillmore, Wolfgang's, all of those facilities were Bill Graham Presents.
Right.
Every single one of them. So people get upset. Like, they already don't like Californians, but they get upset. Like when I am out having fun with my friends, we will talk about the difference between, growing up in Austin, Texas, or growing up in San Francisco, or the difference between Phoenix and San Francisco, right? There is a natural curiosity for the music scene that we were exposed to as kids.
Yeah.
But there's also a natural hate and a natural jealousy because they know that we had it right. I mean, we did have it right in San Francisco.
Yeah. And the ringmaster for that was Bill Graham. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I just don't want Bill Graham to be forgotten about. So we do this segment, One Bad Mother, and guys like Clint Eastwood. We talk about Adam Sandler. We've talked about a lot of different people.
Yeah,
they get a lot of publicity, but Bill Graham has passed away, and so has most of the music industry.
I remember being in aviation on my free time. I know a lot about Bill Graham's accident. So just saying that.
His accent?
Accident.
Yeah. Well, can you? Well, let's wait.
We'll just go and try. But how do y'all start off? I mean,
but that is an aviation thing.
It's an aviation thing. Yeah.
That's right. Helicopter
crash. Yeah.
Okay. So let's lay in some of the context. So, music, like we just said, was right in our backyard here. Bill Graham he promoted every single band everywhere. Nobody anywhere had anything close to the music scene that we had here in the Bay Area. And it was just by osmosis, by chance. The late 60s and the early 70s was when Bill Graham popped up, and he popped up right in the middle of it. And it's interesting because he started out at the Fillmore East, which is...
He started out in the East?
On Geary, you know where the Fillmore is?
Well, the Fillmore West. It became the Fillmore.
Yeah. And it's really a ghetto.
Fillmore East was back in New York. Fillmore West, the Fillmore.
Oh, did I say Fillmore East?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the one on Geary.
This is why we tell you not to listen. We suck. There's no accurate information here.
Yeah. this is so I loved Bill Graham, but what I loved about him was that he met the guy who was running that Fillmore, and it was a ghetto back in the day, and that guy was connected to the blues scene, and he knew all of those bands. So, Bill Graham immediately got in with him, and that led him to the hippies. That led him to the hippie movement, which was the movement that was going on at the Haight-Ashbury at the time, which was an explosion.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it was on. He met this guy, but he had to do a lot of work. Like, there was a lot of crazy loops that he had to go through with the city. He had to go through the city because the facilities. Oh yeah, Winterland was another. You never went there, right?
No. I was too scared.
Man, Winterland. I don't think I ever went to Winterland. It might have been closed up by the time we were of an age to go see shows. But Winterland was. The Punchline. He had the Punchline.
Okay.
Wolfgang's and the old Waldorf. But he developed through the dude at the Fillmore. He started developing. He introduced him to all the people in the city that he had to work with to get all the permits and to deal with all these facilities. Right. So he got in with. Eventually, Bill Graham became the primary promoter for Janis Joplin, Jefferson Airplane, the Grateful Dead. I think he did a whole bunch of work with Led Zeppelin at an early stage. But he eventually,
just keep going.
Eventually he got all the facilities, and then he got his own San Francisco record label.
That's right.
So he had the whole market sort of cornered.
He kind of took all the supply chain of the music scene and put his stamp on it. And I remember, I'm not an expert on this, but seeing some things that, the bands loved Bill Graham.
They did.
Because it wasn't about, he did financially very well, but he was a music evangelist. It was about the music, about the experience for the audience. I remember seeing a documentary where he's yelling at the light guys at the encore, say, turn the house lights up, let the band see their fans. He was there front and center, just driving hands on.
He loved it.
Driving. He loved the music. And I think he's the only quote rock and roll promoter in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That says a lot.
It does.
Yeah, because he was a part of the experience. He was a driving force of the music itself, the experience for the fans, that bridge from the bands to the fans. And the bands respected him, loved him.
They loved him because he had their backs, and one of the things that I loved about this research was this grit, the hard-working side of Bill Graham. And this is, if anyone's ever had to promote anything, it is hard work. But by 1971, that's early 70s, 1971, what was a music boom, it had softened to almost a bust. And Bill Graham went through some very serious financial problems, but he regrouped, and he went to stadium shows and festivals. And the way he did that was by tying in local charities that the bands were into. He went to the bands and said, what charities would you be down?
There you go.
Yep. Because he was in the trenches with those bands. Nowadays, it's a completely different ballgame. It's all corporate, right? It's all been corporatized, right?
I know. With him and Springsteen, they did a lot of food banks. They would have food, canned food bins at the.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. Yeah,
yeah. So by getting involved with these charities, Bill Graham's broke at this point. He's broke. He gets involved with these charities, and he puts together a show, an Allman Brothers show. They get a festival. They get 600,000 people. It was the Allman Brothers Band, the Grateful Dead, and that was when he figured out that these stadium shows were going to work. 600,000. So he brought them back. That was in New York. And he brought them back to the Bay Area where he did the same kind of shows at a decrepit Kezar. Kezar was decrepit.
And for those in Virginia, the Kezar Stadium was the original stadium where the Niners for the 49ers played in San Francisco. Yeah.
Right, the original, and it might still be standing. I'm not sure.
It's there still, but it's you look at it, it's like wow.
Yeah, it was in bad shape back then, and then Bill Graham is responsible for what we lived through at the Cow Palace.
Yeah,
because he brought a decrepit facility, the Cow Palace, back to life.
I mean, to get any
Kezar.
band to book the Cow Palace, what a great name. The Cow Palace, only Bill Graham can do it. There you go.
Yeah, so he did these huge Led Zeppelin shows there, and then he took Led Zeppelin over to another decrepit facility, which was the Oakland Coliseum, and he did nearly 20 years of A Day on the Green there.
Wow.
All festivals.
And that was, and that's such a, in the San Francisco Bay Area, that is just, everybody talks about that.
1973 to 1992,
Remember
Day on the Green.
Day on the Green
brought in the most worldwide of all the worldwide bands, all came to the Oakland Coliseum and put on a show like no other.
Yeah, and I never went because I was kind of scared.
Again.
I just didn't go, yeah.
And probably sleep deprived because you were probably sleeping with a girl that was snoring.
Yeah, probably.
If you were lucky enough to be sleeping with a girl.
Didn't think about that.
20 years, 73 to 92. So the biggest bands in the world would come to those. I just said that. So he promoted Wozniak's, Steve Wozniak. There was a lot going on in the Bay Area that I was totally unaware of as a kid.
And the Woz giving some funds.
Wozniak, dude, in 82, he put together what is regarded, the US Festival is regarded
Absolutely.
as one of the most incredible stadium shows to ever be put together.
Yeah.
Ever. So Wozniak, and his money, again, comes from
Microsoft.
Yeah. High tech. So, and guess who got together to build the Shoreline Amphitheater in Sunnyvale?
Let me think. I don't know.
Bill Graham, and that was Steve Wozniak's baby.
There you go. The premier venue in Silicon Valley.
So that came around in 82. So I remember when that came around, when the Shoreline Amphitheater came around in 82, that kind of drew us away from the city. A lot of those big shows that were in San Francisco were now coming to this huge, 80,000 seat with the lawn.
Not 80,000.
It was a lot of people there.
It's, it's probably 30,000, but
it's more than that.
No, it's the size of an arena, but it's huge. I mean, it's big. And then didn't he do, and then he branched out and did the Concord Pavilion, which is about, for those in our good friends in Virginia, probably about 30 miles east of San Francisco, just kind of out in that way. But he did another pavilion out there. So yeah, he was again putting his fingers in all the experience, all the touch points in the consumer, linking the bands to the consumer.
And here we go. One more thing before we get to the helicopter crash.
We got to talk about the helicopter crash. Yeah.
But before we get to that, he is the guy. Now we're talking about how he was infused. Like he was infused with these bands. He was promoting these bands. They knew who he was, right? He was at these shows. He was there, right? He was the guy who partnered. Now he's the one making all this money, but he partnered with Pearl Jam to fight Ticketmaster right before the helicopter crash.
There you go.
In 91. You know who caused that helicopter crash?
Ticketmaster.
Those
there you go.
Damn assholes.
Yeah, ask any flat earther, man. He's going to say Ticketmaster killed Bill Graham.
Okay, so take us through that.
So in aviation, from what I remember, just the beginning, he was at the Concord Pavilion, a Huey Lewis and the News concert. After the show, he was taking a helicopter back. I think he lived like in Sausalito or something like that.
Sonoma.
Something that way. It's kind of the just north of San Francisco.
Wine country, maybe.
But it was bad weather.
Oh.
The problem was it was bad weather.
Yeah.
And this is the thing in aviation that you just, you know, you got to know when not to fly. And
he probably had somewhere to go.
And so they talk about it scud running, but there was low ceilings, rain, wind, you know, poor visibility, half a mile visibility. I mean, that's not good. So
and it went down Altamont Pass.
So no, he
right?
went. It was out. He went. They took off from Concord Pavilion, transitioned through the Concord Airport out there.
Yeah.
Quote, and those aviation guys out there, special VFR. And then
Crazy winds.
kind of went. If you look on the map of the San Francisco Bay Area, San Pablo Bay. So just Vallejo, just kind of west of Vallejo, and we're cruising below the clouds, 200, 300 feet, and ran right into a transmission tower.
200 or 300 feet off
the ground, just cruising, you know, in a helicopter, and just implanted themselves at the top of this transmission tower, killing Bill Graham and the two others, the pilot and the other passenger on board.
Just fried them.
And they got stuck up there. They had to take the whole line, you know, they had to wait for the NTSB to come, and they had to, you know, pull the whole tower down to get to the wreckage. But it's just one of those, it didn't need to happen. And it's one of those things, and who knows what about the pilot knew. I mean, he was part of, he knew Bill Graham. I think this was.
Of course he did. He probably choppered him everywhere.
But it
was like TC, Magnum PI.
It's just one of those things that you just, you know, you get to the pressure of get their itis. You know, you're going to get them home, but even though it's bad weather and it was bad news. And then they talk about the pilot knew the Bay Area, knew he was using quote pilotage, you know, just following landmarks around, but it just wasn't the right conditions to be flying. So there you go.
Very sad ending to a great life, right? He was too young to go. I will end this thing with everything that he built has been sold off by his entire family. So there's no more Bill Graham. It's gone.
You know, it reminds me of like Bill Walsh. They always talk about Bill Walsh, the famous coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and all the famous coaches that came out of his coaching staff.
That's called a coaching tree.
Coaching tree. There is a music. There's a tree that comes out of Bill Graham. Absolutely.
So there's nothing left. The family sold everything off. First, it was SFX Productions. Some people may be familiar with that. And then it went on to Clear Channel, and then it went on to be Live Nation. His sons,
and now Live Nation's everywhere. Just like Bill Graham presents, it's now live by Live Nation.
And it's iron. There's a lot of irony in that because Bill Graham was the one who was fighting against
that kind
monopolies.
of monopoly. Yep.
Yeah. His sons formed Bill Graham Presents and Another Planet. Now that's a pile of bones. So Bill Graham is dead. It's over. And so is his legacy for the most part with the changes to the music industry.
Yeah.
So it was a privilege, right? It was a gift to be able to live in the Bay Area and to go through and experience all of the incredible music that, look, he brought us some incredible music. And I don't want people who grew up in the Bay Area to forget that. And I want people who grew up outside of the Bay Area to, you know, respect it.
Yeah, and we shouldn't.
The Bay Area is a very special place.
Yeah, and don't discount. Remember, back several months ago, season 1, we did an episode. We talked about Live Aid, and it was Bill Graham who brought the U.S. portion of Live Aid in Philadelphia. He was the guy who did all that there. So
now that's not stupid knowledge.
No, that's kind of stupid.
I think that's good knowledge
because
I didn't know. In all the research we did, I didn't. Either I skipped over.
Mark
or I didn't
this
realize.
down on your calendars. The Sheb has some good knowledge this time. There you go.
And that was in Philly.
That was in Philadelphia. Yeah. Hot day. No shade anywhere in that stadium. There's squirting water everywhere.
So who was the guy who did it in England?
That was Sir.
No. There's no Sir Elton John. It was the guy from the Boomtown Rats.
Yeah, but he got knighted by the Queen.
So he handled all of the. By the way, we're not going to be. Whenever you put two old guys on, you can't come up with a name, right?
But you know the guy.
So the guy in England, and then they left it to Bill Graham to present it in the United States. So that's a big piece to leave out.
Yeah,
Right?
you know
That part of his legacy still exists, even though that Madonna portion of the Philadelphia U.S. Dude, she was not good. Not good. There's a reason why Madonna actually, and that's actually some of her better live stuff, but I'm not going to pound on the Chipmunk Madonna at this point because
she was now, but she was fantastic.
and she was pretty hot back then too.
So it was. Thank you. I would give a nice thanks to Marcio here.
Marcio.
Bob Geldof.
Marcio's good for something. Bob Geldof.
Yeah, he just Googled it and he wrote.
Don't forget Bill Graham. I want anybody who's listening to this to Google him and be blown away because Bill Graham presents Bill Graham. Dude, he made it happen. Now that's what makes me so sad about what's happened to music today.
Well, it can
Milli Vanilli were the pioneers of the lip sync. They don't get any credit. And Bill Graham died in a helicopter. What do we have left? All we have left is Taylor Swift.
Yes, but in the end, the only promoter in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Bill Graham.
And that was the Booyah and the Boom Shakalaka. And it was brought to you by our friends at Newport Land Design.
The hot mess of a dumpster fire will continue.
You can't trust the media, the politicians, or these two clowns. Don't listen.
People, are you ready? Are you ready?
Nothing, but a whole lot of nothing burger right here. Don't listen.
Okay, welcome back. It is the Don't Listen Chumcast. I'm Big Red. He's the Shebs. We're almost out of here. But before we get out of here, our What the Fuck Power Poll is being brought to you by the Super Shoe Outlet. So, the Don't Listen Chumcast is presenting yet another
Poll.
What the Fuck Power Poll.
There we go. On the website, don'tlistenchumcast.com. And just we kind of talked about what the question's going to be. And Daniel's doing the question today. But Big Red, confirm it.
Yeah, it's about snoring. It's
About snoring.
Yeah, is snoring. Do you guys think that snoring is a reason to break up? I'm not talking about divorce or just breaking up or just like hey, dude.
Well, divorce is breaking up, but breaking up is before you're married. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what it is. Go to don'tlistenchumcast.com, check out the power poll, participate, have a good time with it.
All right, there you go.
We got some emails.
All right.
Because it's time to holla. And right before we get into the emails, I want to say thank you to Right Click Computer Technologies who are bringing us holla today.
All right. And I want to thank the Is Chill guys.
Please.
No, I'm seriously.
Well, for what?
Because they've got a theme for me.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
These are people who are sending emails, but they're are behind on episodes, so they're getting caught up. It's nice.
That's exactly why.
That's clever.
These guys go. We need to let these guys go, man.
I think that's clever. So guy, you go. No, you.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm saving mine. But the Is Chill guys aren't happy with you. You're saying get rid of the Is Chill guys?
Yeah. And maybe you too.
Oh, I love you guys.
Maybe you too.
You want to get rid of me?
Yeah. Get rid of the whole batch and let's just start all over again with a bunch of snorers.
Oh, I bet you there's probably a bunch of other high school friends you have all lined up to get rid of the Shebs, right?
Don't be so scared.
I got a little fan club in Virginia, just so you know. People love the Shebs in Virginia.
So Sheila, she's not from Virginia. She's from Santa Barbara. And she says, I love the One Bad Mother segment. That's it. But I do love the One Bad Mother
There you go.
segment. But that's all. She goes, Big Red, you need to pipe down.
That's Santa Barbara?
Yep. Sheila.
Sheila from Santa Barbara.
She ended that with Big Red, you need to pipe down.
All right. I have one from Debbie from Redwood City, my hometown. Well, excuse me, my current town and where we're at.
Redwood City.
Where I live right now, Redwood City. And giving props to Kenny Loggins from
Oh, yeah.
from an episode several well. Like just Kenny Loggins was the soundtrack of my youth. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie from Redwood City.
Yeah, like where would we be without Kenny Loggins?
I'm serious.
He's like Bill
Do you remember
Graham.
that from a couple of months ago, a month ago, whatever it was.
Oh, yeah, it was a while ago.
It was a while ago, season 1, but that's all right. But that's Debbie getting caught up there. Kenny Loggins, the soundtrack of my youth.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Okay, so we'll do this one from Steven. Steven is in Oaktown, Illinois.
Oaktown? Is it really a place called Oaktown?
Yeah, Oaktown, Illinois.
Because people in Oakland here in the Bay Area call it Oaktown.
And he's saying here, Big Red, keep up the great work. The Shebs keep putting up with Big Red. So
hey, some encouragement.
You're getting some sympathy points. And he says here that he visited the Bay Area last May, and it was the most fantastic trip for him and his wife.
There you go.
They loved it. And they did the go-kart.
All right. I will say thank you for doing the go-kart. There you go. All right. I'm talking, just want to say we have, who is this? We have Rachel from Virginia saying she's the president of the Shebs fan club. Yep. See, I told you there's a Shebs fan club back there. Actually, I just made that up. But actually, this card says it's from Julie in Belmont. She says this is what she says. She's getting caught up. Appreciated the.
Is that Belmont, California, or Belmont, Tennessee?
California.
Okay.
So basically, our town we grew up in.
Yeah, our backyard.
So local girl getting caught up. The Ryan White mention. I appreciate the Ryan White mention back from that was a couple episodes ago, back in season 1, where we mentioned on this day in history, Ryan White,
AIDS,
the early AIDS awareness advocate. So on his passing. So Julie from Belmont, just acknowledging that.
Anything else you want to agnowledge? Like your small penis?
No.
You don't want to take this moment?
That speaks for itself.
Yeah.
No, just that fictitious Rachel in Virginia
that was good too. That was a zinger.
As the president of the Shebs fan club.
That was a zinger.
Yeah.
So, and the show was kind of a zinger.
There you go.
So that was Holla, and it was brought to you by our friends at Right Click Computer Technologies.
And we're out of here.
Yeah, well, it's very sad because today was actually a pretty good show.
A pretty good show. We ended it.
But that's just yet another episode of the Don't Listen Chumcast. Check us. You can check us out on Facebook. Follow us at Facebook if you want to. And we're also at don'tlistenchumcast.com. And if you feel overwhelmed, you're a little depressed, don't do it. Call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 866-903-3787. And try to remember that all we want is on the other side of fear.
Bye, Felicia.
Don't listen. A Basic Chumcast has been an exclusive presentation of Whetstone Entertainment in association with Is Chill Productions. Subscribe, follow, like, and share us while on your favorite social media hangouts and our YouTube channel. We're not into begging, but if you like us, review us and support us by continuing to check us out on your favorite podcast platforms. Find more fun and hit us with your feedback at don'tlistenchumcast.com.
Yeah, that's fantastic.